Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about criminal dynasties. Don, don, don. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are thinking about today. I have my special guest here, Breakfield and Burkey, who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So thank you so much for coming onto my show and sharing your time and your perspective with me. I'm excited for this conversation. So let's just dive right in. When you hear the words criminal dynasty, what does that make you think about?
In our case, it makes us think of the Enigma Heirs, our trilogy that went exactly through that theme from start to finish. And it
Mm.
really peeled back the onion of how evil can be trained to your children from the very beginning.
We've got some really despicable criminals for you to really toss spoiled fruit at, and we're kind of proud of them because they've reached a new low in criminal dynasties. They're they're interesting, they're multidimensional, and people like to hate them.
Oh, but I love it though. You know what I mean? To have a good book, you need to have a very good bad guy. You know what I mean? And I think playing with the idea of the criminal dynasties in your novels because I know the Enigma. Oh my goodness, you guys have so many Enigma in that series, so many books in that series, and I was just looking through all of them. I was just like, oh wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Oh my goodness, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Because you can really make it so surreal, and the fact that it's coming from a place of like how can teach a child at a very young age to be evil. I mean, like, goodness gracious, if you really want to get that deep, I mean, there have been so many people that have twisted a child's mind to a point where, yes, in adulthood, it is just who they are. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
really interesting. So it's like for you, what really inspired you to go in this direction?
So I think that, in the original 12 book series, we were focused on technology threats. But in the trilogy, we focused on individuals and why they do what they do and
Hmm.
where it comes from. And so it was an interesting study in, I guess it's behavior evolution. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we we accepted a challenge early on a couple of years ago, and it started with can you do this? Do something that's kind of fun, interesting, maybe it's a little stray from what you're currently doing, and give us something a little different. And so we couldn't turn down the challenge, and we started off. We kind of penciled this out. Well, figuratively speaking, because we do everything on a spreadsheet in a computer. So we put together a really interesting scenario of three half brothers that were brought up. You know, they're the opposite of what you would see in modern day. Uh, Here's what I want. I want to bring the kids up. I want to give them all the right training. And those are the good guys. And then we got the bad guys that they think exactly the same way, except they're on the wrong course.
And in
Yeah.
this case specifically, it was the same father, but all of them have different mothers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so dad took control and said, this is how these sons of mine will be raised.
Oh, dun dun dun. I mean, so what does the word enigma, what does that make you think about? Because you named that for your whole entire series. So it's just like, what does that word make you think about?
So it's about it's also a synonym for puzzle, unsolvable riddle, and that's what these mysteries thrillers are. Well, riddles, puzzles that have to be unraveled by the good guys because the bad guys are already at first base and moving to second base. I mean, the bad guys are always ahead of the good guys, and so the good guys have to catch up. And it's what are we looking at? How did this get so far out of whack? If you
Yeah.
know what a whack is, I mean, you know exactly what we're talking about. But it's important to be able to look at um, through their eyes. They
Mm.
don't see them as being evil. That's like, this is business.
Yeah, let's be honest, it's true. I mean, when you are just living to survive or doing something that may seem unorthodox to somebody, but you know it's because you're surviving, or you know this is your way of making money, or you know this is your way to get even, or whatever. You know what I mean? That's just how you're gonna operate.
And in their case, this is all they know.
Yeah,
So they were trained and taught very early that this was acceptable behavior. So
exactly.
if you think it's acceptable behavior and no one's ever caught you and said it's not acceptable behavior,
Hmm.
then you're not going to change, or you get worse.
Exactly. Hmm.
So our good guys step in and say, okay, excuse me, monkey boy, we're going to fix this, your impression of the universe because it's wrong. And
Yeah.
so they step in and they're the teacher that they never had because they're going to learn some harsh lessons.
Yeah, but you can implement that in real life. You know what I mean? Like somebody
Okay.
can read those books and be like, "Huh, how can I really change?" Or who was that teacher that was trying to guide me in my life, but I kept on ignoring or brushing it off. You know what I mean? Because I love these type of books because it's not just the characters, it's not just the words, it's not just the names. It's literally the meaning behind it, the deeper essence of the lesson in every chapter. You know what I mean? Because I feel like no matter what book you read, every chapter has some type of lesson, some type of like energy that's supposed to feed you so you realize, so you can imagine it, and so you can realize like, huh, how can that how I've noticed people like that, or oh, now I know like similarities between so and so and in my life, you know, and it makes it so under like you can actually see it and visualize. It's like a movie, you know what I mean? Like when people write the way that you do and you read those type of novels and you can like imagine everything that's coming out, it's literally like a movie. So the fact that you did 12, that's like a series nowadays, you know what I mean? Like people have binged that in days and hours. So it's like to read one of your books, that must have been like, oh, so my question is, what really got you into writing? You have so countless amount of books, like over 30 books in total, like really. So it's like, what made you get into writing?
Roxanne's fault. Roxanne, a man kicking and screaming. We were early on in our youthful careers, um, consultants, outbound technical consultants for people who would bring us in and say, um, stuff is wrong. Tell me how to fix it. And you always had to generate a white paper to do that. And so we got pretty good at it. We got so good that we got a chance to be able to train the other people in the team. And then she shows up one day and says, hey, I got us a gig writing technical manuals. And so we did that for a while. And then this woman is amazing. She shows up and she goes, okay, new deal. I'm tired of doing the old junk. Um, let's do fiction with technical facts baked in. This sounded like fun. And then, of course, our closer is, and we can kill people and not go to jail, Charles. So I'm like, um, I was hooked. Okay, there it is.
I don't
But the
blame you.
the thing is, in our technology professions, we saw a lot of different things and certainly met a whole host of people that were wonderful, delightful, and I never want to see them again in my entire life kind of people. So when you bring those together, it can make for some very interesting stories. And as long as we've been writing together, the characters have started seriously to talk to us and tell us, no, we're not going to go in this direction. We're going to go over here. So in this particular trilogy, when we decided to align on the three half brothers, it really was all about the underscore of people personalities. And as you so rightly put, Missy, you're going to see these different aspects of people and be able to relate to them and go, huh, that's kind of like so and so did it, this and such, and I didn't like them there either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing too is that we don't take a one or two dimensional view of the good guys and bad guys. um, Part of the stories are okay. He's good, she's bad. or vice versa. Um, so, what does that mean? And what we do is we bring in the affected. Now they have a drug addiction. Now they've been sold to slavery. Now they've got these other problems, and it's like, oh, you mean this character, this bad guy, was helping to precipitate all of these miserable events for people, and that's why that leads to that three-legged stool where the good guys say, "This is why we're here. We're not stopping until we end your reign of terror."
Yeah. And that's motivational, you know what I mean? To know that a good guy is pursuing forward despite it all, you know what I'm saying? And that's what people need. They need to know that sometimes the good actually do win. It's not always they lose sometimes, because yeah, reality, good and bad, they're always fighting, and sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. But at the same time, it's like to have that there, that's motivating for somebody who's always been down and out and just ready to throw in the towel. Like, no, just keep going, you know what I mean? Just keep pursuing, just keep motivating. And I also loved how you said that when you started writing about fiction, and how you knew you were able to kill people, torture people, manipulate people, do it. It's like you're like a little puppeteer, you know what I mean? Without it being illegal and like kidnapping and actually killing, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to worry about the legalities because it's in a book, and when it's in a book, it's in a book, it's there. That's the safe spot because you're an artist, you allow everything to come through you and out into this paper to be visually there. And then when somebody reads it, it's like a projector, and they're just reading. To be honest, that's what got me into writing, because somebody was like, Mitzi, just start reading books, start reading books. So I was just like, okay, I don't want anything nonfiction because that's too much. You know what I mean? I don't want to see all the research, numbers, all that. I didn't want to deal with that. So I got into fiction, and oh my goodness, I fell in love because I started seeing and visualizing, and it was so simply said. Like it doesn't need all that extra dazzle, you know what I mean? Like sometimes just keeping it simple and keeping it real and straightforward is just like, huh, I get it. I get it. I see it. I can relate. I understand. Like, huh? And they keep you on your toes and like to keep going. That's the beauty of authors, because authors have this talent of creating worlds. And the fact that you were like, oh yeah, the characters speak to me and I just allow them to guide me in the direction that they see fit when it comes to each book. And I've heard that so many times from authors, and I've experienced it myself. And I'm like, there's something to this. You know what I mean? There's truly something to when you write, you allow, like, I don't know what it is, but it's like this energy, this presence, this amazing feeling knowing that it's not just your story, it's somebody else's story. You know what I mean? So when later on in the year somebody picks it up, they can read it and be like inspired by it. So my question is to you, what is a book that inspired you and you can remember to this day and that you love? It could be your own, or it could be another book that you've read.
I have to say, the Dune series. Those books stay with me year in, year out, because they take humanity and move it 10,000 years in advance into the future. And here's where, okay, these are still human. I didn't pick that up originally. It was like, no kidding.
The Dune series. Yeah, okay. I know I like the Dunes movies. Those were really good. So I haven't read the books yet, so I could imagine.
And this is where one of the things I will point out, we do write fiction, that's true, but the technical facts we bake in have to be accurate. Um, we've been called a couple times, excuse me, this is wrong, and we haven't done our research. It's like, okay, this is accurate, and I can go, and I will go into a combat scenario with somebody saying, no, you missed this particular detail, and they go, oh, okay, all right, and they'll stand down.
Mm.
But for a couple of the literary licenses, we should have researched it a little bit deeper. So it's not, making stuff up. That's one thing. Making stuff up that's believable. Story characters, character smithing. Does the story hang together? Is it technically possible? We have to take all that into account.
And you do too, and you're writing this. Yeah, right. Your characters have to be relatable, believable, and either you have readers that become friends with them, or they want to take a sledgehammer to them. One or the other.
Yeah, what about that gal that did that? The one that she didn't like Zara. I love that story that you tell.
Yeah, we have one character. She was so bad. She was just bad. And she was bad because she had made choices, or she had things forced upon her as a young person. Then she started making choices, and she made bad choices because there were no good choices to make. And then
Mm,
finally something, I don't know, came over her, and she decided to change her path. And I think that's the other thing. Even with the dynasties, I think you reach a point. Every human reaches a point in their life where they can make a choice,
yeah.
and they can choose one way or the other way when they get to that fork in the road. And so
Hmm.
in this case, she finally made a choice to do something different. And she's a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aren't
I
we
love
all?
that. Right, exactly. Aren't we all? We all are a work in progress, and it's beautiful that you put it in your characters. And it's true what you said. You have to have some type of reality. You know what I mean? You have to have some type of reality in the fantasy because it's not just in floating in the air, you know what I mean? People are not going to gravitate to anything just there. Like, okay, yeah, your imagination's there, but if it's not really that technical aspect is entwined with it, it really gets lost with the wind, and people don't really have that value, understanding, that connection that those books that has those technicalities in there and in place that makes it like, okay, that's real, that's realistic, you know? So yeah, that's a valid point to put up. So anybody who's listening and thinking about, writing and just diving in and feel a little lost, I feel like you really did bring some value in and a good direction as well. So I guess to start wrapping up the show, because I know time is catching up to us, what can be some good lasting words to keep us off thinking?
Oh, I'll jump in here on that one. I had a very popular author teach me a lesson one time, and his statement was the difference between fiction and nonfiction is that fiction has to make sense. And so we always take that to heart when we're writing our stories because it's a good counsel for anybody who's trying to write. Is it believable? Does it make sense? That's a good guidepost.
Yeah, I'd have
Yeah.
to agree with that. I think too, if there are folks that listen to the show that really want to be authors, as an example, it's something that I don't know exactly how you started your writing, Mitzi, but it's a matter of you just start
Yeah.
and get your ideas, capture them. I have friends that have notebooks by their bed tables, and they wake
Yeah.
up in the morning and everything they dreamed about they write down, and that way they make sure that. And it may take a while to even come back to it, but
Hmm.
it's just try. Don't give up.
And try every day. That's the other thing.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
practice is what, if it's a muscle, whether it's mental or it's physical, don't forget to practice. I'd like to
Yeah.
think that we're better than we were last year when we first started. And it's only because we keep after it. And, that extra polish, I didn't see that. How did I miss this detail? Okay, those are the kind of things that you learn doing.
Oh, absolutely. That's very valid advice because one thing I had this instinct of just I know I have something into me to write. I know I have a story, I know I can share, and I even had strangers randomly come up to me and say, "You should start writing," and then walk away like clueless of what they just said. I was just like, that's
Yeah.
random and weird. You know what I mean? It happened to me on more than two, three occasions. I was just like, okay, let me take this as a sign that I should start writing. So I didn't know where to start. I had no iPad, I had no laptop, I had nothing. I just had a notebook and a piece of paper. And I was just like, you know what? I'll start from here and eventually it'll get me somewhere. And when that one day comes, then I will do something with this. So it's just like, I did it for so long. Like I still have the notebook, you know what I mean? And I transferred it over and everything. But it's just like it makes me proud to have it so that when I actually finish and actually publish it, at least I know that I have the beginning and to the end. You know what I mean? That's something that's gonna bring me joy and know that I was able to do it. So it's like, yeah, those are very valid points, and I love that you shared those because really do think that people need to really think about this. Because I know I have a lot of authors and a lot of writers and a lot of people who are just dabbling in the what ifs of the water. You know what I mean? But you can only dabble for so long. Sometimes you really just got to take that step because all we really have is today. You know, that's the reason why they call it present, you know, because it is a gift. It's the present. So take advantage of it, enjoy it, and bask in it. And if you have 5 minutes to write, hey, those 5 minutes are more than what you didn't do the other day. So just take it on as little as you can because all you have is really today. So I think those are beautiful words. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, because how could you not, please, go check out Breakfield and Burkey. I have their websites on the in the description. If you're listening audio, if you're on YouTube, or if you're on my website, click on their photo and it goes directly to their website where you'll find all of their great content, all of their great books, so that you can continue on thinking. Because isn't that the point, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is. So please continue on thinking and bye.